Hello everybody, my name is Leo. Thank you for watching the video. Well, I've been playing a new MMORPG by Amazon Games, which has the nerve to call itself an indie game developer, called New World. And it's a really good game. I'm surprised. I didn't expect this out of Amazon. The game costs $40. It's a one-time cost. There's no monthly fee. You don't have to spend any money on anything. You can spend money, but all you get are cosmetic items. There's no pay to win as far as I can tell. And I wanted to cover some of the basic mechanics and functions of the game just to kind of give you an idea. So first thing you do is if you hit tab, that'll open up your inventory. Now if you look here, that turns your character around, of course, and you get a good look at the gear that you're wearing, and you can see that I'm only level 40, almost level 41, and it's not bad looking. In fact, from level 1, the gear, well, level 1 you look like a shipwreck. You look like Tom Hanks in Castaway after he'd been there for a couple years. But once you've made a few levels and you've learned how to craft a little bit, your gear really looks pretty good. You have 5 armor slots, and you can put anything you want in these. You can put light, heavy, or medium gear in it. And what actually comes down to is your equipment load. Now, you want to decide if you want to be able to dart and dash around on the battlefield and dodge. You want to keep this at light, which light is under 13 kilograms. Medium gives you a little better protection. You still have some mobility, while heavy gives you, which is anything over 23 kilograms, or is it 23 pounds? I don't know if it's pounds or kilograms. Either way, anything over 23 and it's heavy, and your movement is a lot more restricted. But you have the very best protection. Now, I've mixed and matched mine where I'm just a little bit under the medium. This isn't min-maxed. You can get that closer not closer, but for example, my chest, I should be wearing a heavy chest plate and a lot of light stuff in order to maximize the amount of armor rating that I have on my gear. As you can see here, I'm wearing the swashbuckler coat of the soldier. It's medium chest wear. It's got a 419 gear score, and 419, the gear score is kind of an arbitrary thing that the game assigns to give you just, a quick measure of how good the gear is. And this has 18 strength. They can have just the combination of characteristics that a piece of gear can have is mind-boggling. It's just you just have to really sit down and figure out what you want to do with your character to decide what you want. And I just don't like the way I like the look of the medium chest piece, so I designed everything around that. So I've got a medium chest piece. I've got a medium hat, which I like the way the hat looks. It's the old pirate tricorn hat. I've got heavy gauntlets. I've got heavy legs, and I've got medium footwear. Gets me up to 22.4 out of the 23 that I can have. Now, weapons, you get to have 2 weapons. You select between them by hitting number 1 or number 2. You have when you start out, you only have 2 consumable slots. I am level 40, so I have 4. When you first start out, you only have room for an amulet for jewelry. Then as you level up, you unlock your ring slot, and then at level 40, I believe, you unlock your earring slot. When you start out, you have 1 bag slot, and then at level 30, you get your second one, and level 45, you get your third one. You can see I don't have that yet. You have a range of crafting tools, and which are for a range of different harvesting activities. Plus, you have this thing, an Azoth staff, which is part of your main story quest line, and I'll cover that a little bit more. Over here in your inventory, you have different categories, and you know at a glance what you've got, what's taking up most of your inventory. Like me, I've got a lot of cooking stuff. Right now, I was out on an expedition gathering meat and stuff like that. Refining reagents, you need those. Like you need tannin for refining coarse leather and thick hides. You need sandpaper for working with wood. You need solvents to help combine. Like if you have three flawed sapphires, you want to combine them into a regular just sapphire. You have to use that. And then you have cross weaves and silk weaves that you use when you're making fabrics. Weaving, of course, you go out and you find nodes in the world. From hemp plants you get fibers, and then you come to the loom in town and you weave those into a fabric. And then if you want to make that into a higher level fabric, you can combine it with the cross weave and you make it into sateen, and it progresses like that. It's not just a straightforward cut and dried thing where you just keep going up, because you could get to tier 4, and tier 4 crafting goods might require a tier 2 or a tier 2 crafting good that you've already refined into all tier 4. So you're going to have to break that down using the solvent back down into the tier 2 that you need, or you're going to have to go out in the world and you're going to have to hunt more monsters, wolves and bears and stags and stuff like that to get the skins that you need, or go and harvest the hemp that you need to get the fibers you need, or you're going to have to break it down. So you've got all of that in the inventory. So hit tab again to close that. The next thing I'm going to open up is the K tab. This is your character tab. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you here is the bio. My character's name is Ampulex. I'm on the Ophir server, so if you decide you want to play and you decide you want a little help, I'll be glad to help anybody that wants to try to play this game. I'm not a pro at it. I'm no champion. I'm no min-maxer, but I'll help anybody that I can. It shows you what faction you are. There are 3 factions. There's the Syndicate, there's the Marauders, and there's the Covenant. The Marauders are your militaristic, jarhead, oorah, gung-ho boys. Covenant is your Spanish Inquisition, and the Syndicate are your free thinkers, scientific knowledge seekers, seekers of wisdom. So, and I'll get into that just a little bit more here when we get into the map section, to kind of show you there. You get a series. You earn a series of titles as you go along, depending on what content you finished, what achievements you've accomplished. Shows you what company that you are. A guild is what it basically is. I'm in Monarch's Bluff. This is my favorite. The town here, Monarch's Bluff Village or Hamlet, whatever it's called, is my favorite town. But this isn't the one that I'm doing most of my business in. And depending on how you spend achievement points that you get just for doing things for this town or for this territory, you can reduce your miners or your time of harvesting. You can increase the amount of XP you get. You can increase the amount of storage you get. Also, the town leaders will say, hey, we're going to do a miners resolve project, and that means that if you're mining, that's going to increase mining quality by 20% for 3 days, for example. Tells you how much time is left on that. And then Hunter's Bounty does the same thing. Now, town leaders are not NPCs. These are players. For example, like if my company had taken over one of these towns, we would be running it, and the guy that was in charge of my company would be deciding which of these things would be getting done. Monarch's Bluffs is under the control of the Covenant, I believe, right now. So they own 2 territories. My faction owns 2 territories. Marauders own the other 5 or 6, whatever it is. Because Marauders, that faction just attracts the kind of people who are just gung ho, min-maxers, go out and be the best. The other 2 factions, the Syndicate and the Covenant, seem to attract more RPers, people who are more attracted to the lore, which is why I'm here. Now, the next tab on the character sheet is your attributes. Now, you have, of course, the standard list of attributes. But now, you have to decide what weapons you want to use, what 2 weapons you want to use, and then depending on that is which of your attributes you're going to concentrate on. Every level you get 3 points. Min-maxers say that you want to put 75% into your primary stat, 25% of your points into your secondary stat. Now, I do a lot of soloing, so I put a third into my secondary stat, which is Constitution, because I feel I need the health, and I put the other 2/3 into Strength. Now, I have a lot of modifiers because all of my armor and stuff, it has Strength bonuses, and my jewelry all has Constitution bonuses. Just because I find that this works better for me. And of course, min-maxers that are watching this are going to, scoff and remark what a noob I am. But if you look here, Strength, you can hover over each one of these little icons and it tells you which weapons scale. They're like, for example, this is what I use is the hatchet. Now this scales with Strength and Dexterity. So I could have focused on Strength, or I could have focused on Dexterity to get the max damage with my hatchet. But if you look here on these little dots, it tells you, well, once you reach 50 Strength, you get these benefits. Once you reach 75, once you reach 100, or 150, once you reach 100. And those benefits to me for what I do outside of just fighting, like for example here, I get an extra 20% encumbrance. I can carry more, and plus I get 10% damage with melee weapons. And up here, what is this one? 50% stamina damage from melee weapons, light and heavy. So when I hit a monster, I do 50% damage to their stamina. So I'm not just hurting their HP. Whereas with Dexterity, if you go to the first dot here, you get more skinning speed and you get a better chance to critical hit. So you have to look at that and decide what you want to do. And basically, melee, mage, healer, health. That's what you're looking at on with the 5 of these. So let's go over to Weapon Mastery. Now here's where all your weapons are. When you start out with one-handed weapons, or with a sword and shield. A sword and shield is you're a tank. All right. You can go on throughout your whole career being a sword and shield specialist. When you show up at a dungeon, people are going to expect you to tank. You can be a DPS with sword and shield, but people are going to look down their nose at you. You're going to get a lot of pushback. So just understand that. Now, the way that this works is really interesting. You only can have 3 abilities active at any one time, and these are triggered with your Q, R, and F key. All right, those are the only 3 keys that you have that that are hotkeys for your abilities. And they are the square ones on each one of these trees. You have two different trees. On this one, you got the Sword Master tree, which is your DPS tree. You got your Defender tree, which is your tanking tree. So these square ones go on your QRNF key. All the rest of these are passives that buff your actives. Now, you can go into this tree and get these also, but you can't have 6. You can mix and match them. So you have to decide how you're going to play your character. You can decide that, like say, if you're going to play Sword and Shield, you can have one setup for when you're out soloing, and then have another setup for whenever you're in a dungeon, say if you want to tank. Now, for me, for example, I use the hatchet. I have this entire tree maxed out. This tree over here is for throwing. This game, you have to aim. There is no tab targeting. I repeat, there is no tab targeting. If you cannot aim and hit things that are moving, if you cannot reach over and hit your left shift key with your little finger and dodge left and right and backwards and forwards occasionally, you don't have to do it much. Or at least I haven't found that I have to do it much. But you do have to do it sometimes. You have to use your right mouse button to block. When you can see a monster or a mob is about to hit you with one of their heavy attacks, or you'll take a lot of damage. I mean, the combat is a lot more involved than it is in something like WoW or EverQuest 2 or something like that. It's a lot more like Elder Scrolls Online, or even to a certain degree like Final Fantasy 14. But this way you'll never have hotbar bloat like you have in those games. You'll only ever have 3 active abilities, and everything else is passives. So let's go back here and look at this. So your one-handed weapon, Sword and Shield. If you're not using the Sword and Shield, don't have the shield in your inventory. Let me show you that real quick. Right here's your shield slot. All it does is it weighs you down. It adds to this amount here, right? And if you're not equipped with, if you're not using sword and shield, you can't use hatchet and shield. You can't use spear and shield, whatever. You don't get the benefits of that. So don't even have anything in here unless you are sword and shield. Okay. All right. So sword and shield. Rapier. Rapier is a high skill cap. I haven't played it myself. I've watched videos on it. It's timing. This is if you just want to flex, if you want to just show how good you are at dodging and timing and things like that. Hatchet is just flat out DPS. It's the simplest to play in my opinion as for what I want to do. Then of course Spear is if you're familiar with MMORPGs, this does some AoE attacks that lets you knock their feet out from under them. You do some thrust attacks. Great Axe is AoE. Warhammer is also AoE. Both of these are slow. This is a very fast weapon, the rapier is. Then your bow is a range weapon that you have to lead, right? You have to account for the drop. You can't just aim straight at the mob. You have to actually aim like you would a real bow. Same thing with the musket, only not so much because the projectile is a lot faster. So you can shoot straight at the mob, more right at the mob than you can with a bow, right? Now, interesting little idea that some people are doing is they're combining the musket with a rapier and doing a musketeer build, which is kind of cool. And if I was any good at aiming, and if I was any good at if my reflexes were as good as they were, my manual dexterity, I might try something like that. Now on the magic weapons, you got your fire staff. This is your intelligence base AoE mage build. This is your healer is your life staff. Now the reason I've got this is my secondary weapon, and the reason I've got this is so when I'm out soloing, I can fight a few mobs, I get beat down a little bit, I can heal myself back real quick, and I can keep going. There's no regeneration in this game. Like in between mobs, you can't just stop and wait for your health to go back up. If you don't have a way to heal you, like with a life staff, or have potions, or have a friend with you that can heal you, then there's just about not any healing in this game unless you go into town, and then when you're in town you can regenerate, right? So that's why I have the life staff. It just makes soloing a lot easier for me. And you can combine this with any of the rest of these. So you could have like a great axe and a life staff. And you could probably just walk and talk with that. Just like anything else. Ice Gauntlet, another mage type, intelligence-based build. You have to aim with this. This is really good for crowd control and AoE attacks. Now, trade skills. We'll go to this next tab. Trade skills are broken down into 3 areas. You've got your gathering, which is logging, mining, fishing, tracking and skinning, and harvesting. Basically the same that you've got in any MMORPG. Then you've got your refining, where you refine these materials that you gather, and then you have your crafting skills, where you take the materials you refined, and you actually turn them into things that you can use or you can sell. Now, speaking of selling, there are no NPC vendors in this game. Either you sell it on a trading post, or you salvage it just for the repair points. Sorry, drinking coffee. Anyway, there's no vendors. You can't just walk up to a vendor and sell all your junk. You have to go to a trading post and actually sell it. And I'll go over that again here in a second, or more here in a second. Now let's look at the journal. And achievements, of course. That's different stuff that you've done in the game. This is where it tells you the ones that you've recently completed, nearly completed, your progress. Overview, and you see my player is nothing, missions is almost nothing. Anyway, all right, let's look at the map. Now the map is very interesting. You scroll in with your mouse wheel and out. This is the town that we're in right now. This is Monarch's Bluff Village, or Hamlet, or whatever they call it. All these little icons mean something. These are available quests. These quests I've really out-leveled, so I'm not even going to bother to go get them. And these are your crafting stations and your faction representatives. Like, this is my Syndicate Alchemist. If I wanted to do some faction quests to gain faction XP, I would just go to him. There's a board there. I can take the quest, go out, do the quest, come back, turn them in, and I get faction points. You rank up. You get ranks in faction, kind of like Final Fantasy XIV, and you can buy different perks, and you can buy armor that's pretty good for its tier. I mean, it's not as good as the best player crafted, but it's pretty good. If you want to just really grind your faction, you can come up with some pretty good gear and run the other quests. You have an inn. You can bind yourself to an inn so that you can recall yourself there free. Now, fast travel in this game. Let me show you. We're on the map here. All right. These little double arrow things here are called spirit shrines. Now, for example, if I wanted to travel to this spirit shrine, it would cost me 62 Azoth. That's what the little blue icon there means. Azoth. Now, Azoth is a in-game currency that you get by completing certain quests, or you can buy gear that allows you to have a chance of also collecting Azoth whenever you gather, like, harvesting resources, which I have some of that, so you can do that. But it costs you depending on how much stuff you're carrying. So if you're carrying a full load, it can cost you a couple hundred Azoth. So that's why you want to make sure that you've dumped everything into your storage shed as when you can. You can also fast travel to any town But same thing goes there. It's going to cost you Azoth. The only thing that it's not going to cost you Azoth to fast travel to is the town that you're in bound to. And you can do that once per hour, or if you've bought a house in a town. Now, the lowest level houses, if you've not upgraded the house, you can only do that once every 4 hours. But that's not as much of, the 4 hour thing is not as much of a restriction as it might seem. It actually works out pretty good. I'm going to zoom out on this map a little bit, and you see it's all kinds of different colors. All right. Now, the colors show which factions control which territories. And you can see that we in the Syndicate have 2 territories. The religious guys have 2 territories, but the Marauders have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 territories, because that's just how Marauders do. But up in the north, there are these territories that nobody owns and nobody can own them, and they're recommended, like this one, for example, starts at level 41. I'm thinking about going up there to do some exploring. Haven't been there yet. Right now, where I've been doing my harvesting and collecting is over in this area here. There's a lot of corrupted portals and coming in over here, so you got to be careful running around over there, because if a high enough level corrupted bunch get a hold of you, then you're going to die. The dying penalty isn't bad. You can either make a camp, which making a camp is really easy. You can pick up a piece of flint off the ground, which it's a dime a dozen. Harvest a few bushes, which are a dime a dozen. Get some green wood, press Y, and create a camp. That way, if you're going into something that you don't know if you can handle, like one of these areas. Let me show you here. Here we go. Alright, right outside of Everfall, which is the town that I've been actually doing business with, there's this farm called Bradbury Fields. So, for example, and it's recommended level of 7. So if you're low level and you're not sure if you're going to get killed, you can make your camp right here, right outside, and go in here and try to kill the mobs, go into the houses, get all the chests and everything that's in the houses, harvest all the foodstuffs that are in the fields and stuff like that. And if you do get killed, you can either choose to respawn back at Everfall if that's your hometown, or you can respawn there at your camp. Now, this really comes in handy is when the place that you're adventuring at, that you're killing mobs at, is a long way from where your available respawn points are at. All right. Journal. Another thing about the map, very important. All right, you can sort your objectives by closest first or by easiest first, which is how I sort them. That way I can go through and do the easiest one, or do the ones that are easiest first. So I'm not outrunning my quests like I did here. Into the depths. So it says it's level 40. You have to go into a dungeon. Dungeon's actually level 45. I'm only level 40, so I've got to make 5 more levels before I'll even think about going in there. So I've got it unpinned, so it's not showing up on the map. And then these are the other quests that I've got going. I can pin them, and they'll show up in my quest log on the right side of my map. Store, like I said, it's all just cosmetic stuff, dyes, emotes, skins, stuff for your house. Like you can get this pirate housing decor bundle, crest for your company, and New World got absolutely wrecked the first week that it opened up. I mean, there was hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people online. Hundreds and hundreds of servers they had opened up. And of course, you know that after a few weeks or a few months, that the population is going to decline to something a little more stable. So they've already got it set up to give you a free world transfer token, one free world transfer token, so that when this happens, you'll be able to transfer over. And you know, play with your friends or get on a server that's got more people on it or fewer people or whatever you want to do. All right. Now that's most of the basic stuff. Now, this right behind me, this is a trading post. Now, this is the only place that you can buy and sell gear, unless, you know, you do a person-to-person trade. Now, if you want to do a person-to-person trade with somebody, you get close to them and you hit the H button, and you have to actually kind of be looking at them like here. So here I'm looking at this guy, H. I hit H, and I can do a direct message, and it's got all these things: invite them to a group, add a friend, I can trade with them, whatever. He's moved off too far away now, or he's got trades turned off, so I can't. But anyway, if you most of your buying and selling is going to be done here. Now, the trading post works weird. Each town has its own trading post, and this trading post exists separately in a way from every other trading post in the world, which means that if I put something up for sale at this trading post, nobody will be able to see it at any of the other trading posts anywhere else in the world. You can only have 100 items up for sale. Right now I have 54 items up for sale. You can have 100 total, and that's not 100 per trading post. That's 100 all globally. That's 100 in the whole world that you can have up. So you're in this weird position that while if I put something up for sale here, only people who come to this trading post can see it and buy it. But if I say, for example, have 1,000 of something that I can't, that is too heavy for me to carry somewhere else that I want to transport it to, I can put it up for sale here and price it just completely out of the market where nobody will buy it. I can fast travel or run to the town I want to go to, cancel the sale there, and it'll all dump into my inventory, and then I can put it into my storage shed. You don't have a bank here, you have a storage shed. Every town has at least one. Some of the towns, most of the towns I've been in, I've seen too. So storage shed has a limited amount of storage. Another interesting thing about the way this works is anything that's in your storage shed, it's just like it's in your inventory as long as you're in that town. So if it's in my storage shed, I can put it up for trade just like it's in my inventory. If it's in my storage shed, I can go to a crafting station like down here to this kitchen, and I can craft with it just like it's in my inventory. And that's really handy. That is really handy. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you was, and let me make sure I'm going the right way here, is the graphics in the game, just the environments. One of the reasons why I think that anybody would want to play this game. Now here, like I said, this is Monarch's Bluff. This is on the southern end of the continent. As you can see, there is a lot of tropical influence here. There are mangrove trees, and then when you come out here into the world, you can see this is very dense. It also lets me know I'm not checked into the inn here, but I'm not worried about being checked into the inn here, number one, because I'm level 40 and this is a level 1 to 25 zone, so I'm not too worried about dying and respawning, trying to respawn here. Number two, I have a house here, so I can always respawn at that house. Number three, if I was worried about it, I could make a camp. And you see these guys cutting down trees. You see, when you cut down a tree, the tree goes down. Now, the fallen tree will disappear here in like 10 seconds, and in a minute or two or three or whatever, it'll respawn. But you can see this is really a densely, it's really a beautiful world. I think it is. I think it's a really nicely done world. The density of things is just amazing to me. Of course, he was no challenge. I just want to show you. Killed a howling wolf. You hit E. I'm skinning the wolf, and what I'm going to get off the wolf is I'm going to get some rawhide, which is a lower level leather resource that you turn into coarse leather to make your first bunch of armor and stuff. Now you can see these are like palm trees almost. You can cut those down. When you first start logging, those young trees are all you're going to be able to log. Bushes, you can harvest these bushes. You'll get green wood, which you can turn into timber, which you can use in trade skilling to start getting that up. And then you can come down here to the coast. You can go fishing, and you see all those shipwrecks off in the distance. In most games, those are just like eye candy, and I don't want to spend a lot of time. I don't want to make this video any longer than it already is. But there's a huge shipwreck where you could tell it looks like a storm took it and just crashed it up onto the rocks, and it's way over there somewhere. And as you approach it, it looks like something out of a movie scene almost. And in most games that would just be eye candy, but in this game you not only can you explore it, but there are quests if you start out here in Monarch's Bluff that you go that you have to go there to actually do the quests. Bonfire on the beach, can't beat that. These little houses, you want to be careful when you come around anything like this, because a lot of times there'll be a mob hiding inside. But you also want to explore them because you'll find these little journals and things like that. Anyway, this game has a lot of depth. It has a lot to it. There's there's just a lot to do. And when people leave, they're like, oh, now, even though he's no challenge to me, and there's no way he could beat me, boars are stupid. And I like the way that animal behavior is modeled in this game. Anyway, there's a lot to like in this game. There really is. Are a lot of different... and there's another one. Anyway, so I get a little meat for cooking and get a little rawhide for crafting off of him. But here you see people getting their logging up, and let me tell you why they're getting their logging up. Because when you get to level 35, there's a quest you have to do that you have to skin these eldritch kind of wolves, these supernatural wolves, and they're like made of wood or something, and you have to have at least 100 logging to be able to skin them. So anyway, there's a lot to this game. Like I said, if you decide that you want to play it and it seems like there's too much to handle on your own and you don't want to watch all the videos about how to play it, just I'm on Ophir. Send me a direct message, or just let me know. I'll be glad in the comments or something, and I'll be glad to help you out the best that I can. I'm no pro. I'm no min-maxer. I'm not going to make you a pro PvP world-beating kind of player, but if you just enjoy walking around, seeing the scenery, looking at the sights, doing the crafting, doing a little RPing, I'll be glad to help you. Anyway, my name's Leo. Thanks for watching the video, and I look forward to seeing you next time.